I learned that from 12 o'clock on you can say good afternoon. I'm very happy that you found your way here and that you're with us and not queuing to get some sandwich outside. And I hope there will be still some sandwiches afterwards. Our session, Inclusive Crisis Response Frameworks, Data Coordination, Training and Action. Before we begin, let me briefly introduce myself, describe myself. My name is Friedrich Rum-Perdomo. I'm 1.75 meters high. I won't tell you my weight. I double-checked it. I hope you won't believe it, but I will get 60 this year. And I have black hair, dark eyes, which reflect my Colombian roots, and as you might note, my accent reflects my Austrian roots, so please excuse some errors in spelling or grammar. I'm a journalist, and I have the honor to work quite some years already for the Zero Project, focusing on research and communication, and I'm very pleased to be moderating this session on behalf of Michael Fambeck. And to give you an idea what will be our focus in the next hours, please allow me to give you some figures based on EMDAT data. Between 2000 and 2090, the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction reported more than 7,300 major disasters worldwide, which is more than twice as many as in the previous 2 decades. Most of these disasters were climate-related hazards as floods, storms, and heat waves. But also armed conflict is rising. Data from the Uppsala Conflict Data Program show that in 2024, there were 61 active state-based armed conflicts worldwide, which is the highest number recorded since end of World War II. And it's obvious people with disabilities are among those most affected when systems come under pressure or collapse. But this is not only obvious, but also supported by scientific evidence. For instance, during the 2011 earthquake in Japan, mortality rate among people with disabilities was 2 to 4 times higher than those without disabilities. And also during the COVID-19 pandemic, the risk of death for people with disabilities was almost 3 times higher. The good news is that international frameworks are increasingly acknowledging this disproportional risk. The most recent example is the EU Preparedness Strategy, which was adopted in March 2025. And there are plans also in place to adopt guidelines on disability-inclusive preparedness measures within the Union Civil Protection Mechanism by this summer. However, as it is often the case, there's still a gap between recognition and implementation, and this is where the Zero Project comes in. For the first time, the topic of crisis response was included in the call for the ZeroCon 26, with the aim to finding practical solutions that can serve as good examples or inspiration for others. Of the over 500 nominations received, 30 were selected for their approach to disability inclusion in crisis situations, and of those, 11 finally received the Zero Project Award. In addition, the Zero Project has produced a special report on disability-inclusive crisis response. I had the honor of contributing to this report, and some of the experts who made important contributions to this, I think, very excellent publication are here beside me. I will let you know how you can obtain a copy of this report at the end of the session. So, with further ado, let me introduce you to our speakers and their topics. which I will present in the order of the presentation. Next to me, first is Marcy Roth, Executive Director and CEO of the World Institute on Disability in the United States. She will illustrate us how disability-led organizations coordinate crisis response globally and in real time. After her, Huyen Do she's the chairperson of the Hanoi Association of People with Disabilities, short DP Hanoi, in Vietnam. She will share insights on how co-designed, inclusive, community-led data can enhance preparedness and response. Antonio Usiete La Fontana, commander of the Guardia Civil in Spain. He will present a very simple, very nice, effective pictogram-based communication tool for emergency situations. And last but not least, I'm pleased to have Mikhail Rimon with us. She's the CEO of Access Israel. I think most of you know her. She will explain how training and empowering volunteers and frontline teams can strengthen accessible emergency response. After the presentations, I would like to invite you to take part in the discussion, to comment, to ask questions. And Marcy, I'm very glad you're opening the session, so the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. I want to say congratulations to my co-awardees and a big thanks to the Zero Project for the opportunity to highlight some very important work that is going on globally. Brief description: I'm old, I'm white, and I'm a little cranky sometimes when we don't get disability inclusive emergency preparedness right, because it's not that hard. So I'm going to talk today about the Global Alliance for Disaster Resource Acceleration and some really exciting work that the World Institute on Disability team, WID, has done with the help and support of Google and Amazon Web Services as a part of the Tech for Good, Tech to the Rescue initiative. We have been helped to design some artificial intelligence tools. So where did the clicker, oh, here it is. Okay, so the Global Alliance for Disaster Resource Acceleration, we know that communities do much better when the people most affected are also the people closest to the solutions. And disability-led organizations, our colleagues from nonprofits, and our very kind partners from corporations, foundations, who provide humanitarian assistance, working together to make sure that those humanitarian resources meet the people who are actually on the ground doing the work. And so we build capacity so that this isn't new learning as the event is occurring. And our matching system connects the resources with the local disability-led communities who use them to support their whole community. We know that people with disabilities are most affected. We also know that, unfortunately, disability-led organizations only get 1% of all of the humanitarian assistance that is very generously shared. 99% of those funds actually go to other organizations doing very important work, but they're doing important work for us and not with us, and not with us leading the way. And as a result, there is great harm. The Global Alliance for Disaster Resource Acceleration has essentially 4 areas of work. We have a virtual emergency operations center that is multilingual. It's GDPR compliant, and it's WCAG 2.2 compliant as well. Our matching resource is called AIME, A-I-M-E, and I'll talk a little bit more about AIME in a moment. We use this to close the gap, empowering the people most affected. And we are redefining disaster by simultaneously, without relying on outside responders, to drive the people closest to the impact, to the head of the discussions around what is needed, not only for them, but for the whole community. And before I go any further, I do want to thank my colleagues, Dawn Skaggs and Christina Contreras, who couldn't be here, but who have been at the heart of the AIME initiative and our work with the Global Alliance for Disaster Resource Acceleration. Artificial Intelligence Match Expediter, AIME, identifies and prioritizes, connects disability-led organizations to the resources and information that they need. It collects resource information in advance and ready when needed. And most importantly, it replaces charity models with real-time, equitable, and sustainable coordination. We are super excited about AIME's capability to gather and promote predictive analytics so that as it continues to learn about what's happening during disasters and then couples that with what it knows about weather, traffic, what have you, and then brings all of that together with what has happened in the past and currently in support of those disability-led organizations, and that allows us to share with everyone the kind of predictability that will help us all to make better decisions so that we don't leave people with disabilities behind. Over the period since we started, we have supported 53 disability-led organizations. We've responded to 28 crises in 17 countries across 5 continents. We have supported and enabled evacuation of over 1,100 people with disabilities, and we've matched disability-led organizations with over 500,000 USD in resources and 1.5 million USD in kind. We are continually scaling, replicating in many countries, connecting disability-led organizations, building partnerships, developing skills. We've been building a cache of shared resources and tools, and we have a global community of practice and training. And I am under my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Marcy. This seems to be a very interesting tool. I keep my questions also for afterwards. So I want to hand over now to Huyen Du, who will give us a bit of a more local perspective on collecting data, which is also a very important part of crisis. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, I'm handing over to Huyen Du, who will start with her presentation, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Huyen from Vietnam. Actually, one of our colleagues want to be here, but this time it's like Lunar New Year in Vietnam, so Happy New Year. So she couldn't join us here. Yeah, so for the presentation, I really love because it sets the important roles of organization of people with disabilities in response to disaster in many countries, including in Vietnam. So in my presentation, some of you may know about Vietnam. It is a long country with more than 2,000 kilometers from the north to the south. And we along the sea, we call it sea. So with that geography, every year we face a lot of natural disaster. Like last year, we have been faced with 14 storms during the years, and it's very serious, and it has very big impact to persons with disability in Vietnam. And with the population is about nearly 1 million people, and in which nearly 8 million people with disabilities. So we face a lot of challenge in terms of climate change and natural disaster. So with the roles of organization of people with disability in Vietnam, we represent for different kinds of disabilities, the deaf, the physical disability, visually impaired, intellectual disabilities. So we do a lot of raising awareness, capacity building, vocational training and employment, and disability inclusion with climate change. And of course, we do advocacy, so people with disability and also the common other stakeholder recognize the role and important voice of people with disabilities. And like I mentioned before, during the disaster, or before, during, and after, how people with disability we are safe, and how other stakeholders to have like an inclusive plan to respond to people with disability. So in Vietnam, we don't see like there is no reliable or accessible database about people with disabilities. So during the storm, no one knows how many the deaf people in this area, how many blind persons. So when the storm coming or the flood, people don't know. So many plan, they come and they just use the speaker, but the deaf cannot hear, the blind cannot see. So that's why we initiate and we work on a database, and we start to pilot with very small area in Hanoi. And in Hanoi, we still have a rural area and urban area. So we focus on rural area first. And with that initiative, we use GPS to check the locations of households with disabilities and other facilities to see how accessible for people with disability if the natural disaster happen. And then we train for people with disability and local people how to use GPS. And with that situation, in the database, we put like a different features of disability, like a gender or types of disability, levels of disability, and even the marital status. And we realize a lot of women with disability, they live like a single or dependent. So we think about the gender response in climate change also. And with that process, we use like the database that we collected, and then we put in the system we call National Disaster Monitoring System, and it's managed by the government, Ministries of Agriculture and Environment, because we don't want to use like only by us, but we want to like collaborate with especially government, so it's more sustainable and it can expand to another areas of Vietnam. So for that pilot, we just got nearly 600 database, and we integrate into the Vietnam disaster monitoring system. and then it's improve the preparedness and response plans from the local government. Yeah, so it brings a lot of impacts on disability inclusion when the government or other stakeholders, they have planned about the natural disaster response. And it's really impressive that it promotes the ownership between different stakeholders here, like the participation, the active roles of persons with disabilities, and also other stakeholders. And also they realize the contribution of people with disability. We are not only the victim, but we can contribute. We have ability to do, and that builds a partnership between and among different stakeholders. And it's really important because the government realizes our work also. And we are really happy after this, so we provide the recommendations, the feedback for the government plan about disaster response. And of course, it's really meaningful because we can expand to another area in Vietnam. And with our slogan that when the people with disability are safe, so everyone in the community are safe. So that's our work, and we want to achieve that. And with that, we also have, based on that plans, we do lots of policy advocacies. We organize some workshop with the involvement of government and also UN agency in Vietnam, and this is like the first initiative that about climate change, disability inclusion. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for the attention.
Thank you very much, Hoon, for showing how inclusive data makes people visible before a crisis, and to give you a small appetizer for the report the Zero Project made. We have a life story in the report of women with disabilities living in My Duke, where the pilot took place, and it's very impressive and can give you a very good idea how this collecting data can work, and as a good example. But when it comes to crisis, communication is the main point. And so I want to ask now Antonio Usieto La Fontana to present us how this can be done when words are not possible. So
thank you very much. Morning for everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation and the opportunity to be here presenting this project that for the Guardia Civil is very important. My name, like Freddy said, is Antonio Usieto, and I represent the Guardia Civil of Spain, a gendarmerie-type national police institution which presents all across the country and more than 60,000 police officers. This project was developed together with the Fundación 11, a well-known organization in accessibility and disability that many of you are familiar with. So today, I would like to introduce our pictograms communication guide for emergency situations. This guide brings more than 100 pictograms organized into 11 different emergency scenarios. It was created for situations where speaking is not possible or when communication becomes very difficult due to the stress, fear, or language barriers. It is an accessible tool that is already available on police officer service tables, so officers can use it immediately during their interventions. The main goal is very simple: to improve clarity, increase safety, and promote inclusion. In critical moments, that you know, pictograms allow communication when words fail. The This guide was created to address real communication barriers that police officers face during emergencies situations where they interact with people who have an intellectual disability or for not communication difficulties. But we also meet tourists or immigrants who don't speak Spanish, or people who are blocked by fear or confusion. In these situations, the lack of clear communication can lead to misunderstandings and delays, and in emergency context, time and clarity are essential for us. That is why we need a quickly and universal visual communication tool like this. The solution was to develop this guide jointly between Guardia Civil and Fundación 11, as I said. It's a 46-page visual guide designed to help police officers communicate with citizens in stressful or difficult situations. The pictograms come from Arasac, an open system used in many countries in augmentative and alternative communication. This makes them easier to understand for many people, even from different countries. The guide covers common emergency scenarios such as accidents, violence, cybercrime, or lost people. It's a simple innovation, but applied to everyday situations in our country. The way it works is very simple. The police officers shows the pictograms on the table and the tablet, and then the person points to communicate. Through these pictograms, they tell us what happened, how they feel, or why they need at that moment. There is no need to share language and no need to write anything. It works even when the person is in panic, where there is no common language, or when cognitive barriers prevent verbal expressions. And this is why the tool is highly effective. The guide was officially launched in 2023, and in 2025, it has been implemented across all Guardia Civil units across Spain. It has been distributed to more than 2,000 Guardia Civil police stations, and the guide is now more than 2,000 Guardia Civil stations across Spain. It's on 20,000 police tablets and on the mobile device used by more than 70,000 officers. This shows that the system is fully integrated in our daily police service. Today, the guide is already used in our service, for example, in traffic controls, mountain rescues, or in the assistance in vulnerable people. A very common case that many of you will recognize is the support provided to pilgrims of Camino de Santiago, where many people don't speak Spain. We have observed faster communication, more accurate interventions, and very important, the increase in public trust and the feeling of safety among citizens with communication difficulties. Finally, I would like to highlight that clear communication saves time, reduces risks, and protects people. This guide represents not only efforts to improve inclusion, but also to public safety and universal accessibility. We are not talking about complex technology, but in the right moment, it can make the difference. Thank you very much for your attention.
So thank you very much, Antonio, for this very practical example of accessible communication in emergency situations. So finally, Mikhail, I would now like to invite you to show how training volunteers and frontline teams can strengthen accessible emergency response. So.
Perfect. And the minutes saved because they didn't use it all can pass to me.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm Michal Rimon. I'm the CEO of Access Israel and initiator of the Purple Vest mission. As you mentioned, I will talk to you about our approach to how to get frontline teams ready. I don't know what that was, but again, everything is okay. Relax, keep sitting in your seats. 1 second. Okay. So Access Israel was established 26 years ago in an Israel not accessible at all, and our vision has stayed the same since. It is improving the quality of life and the inclusion, ability for inclusion for all types of disabilities in all areas of life. Accessibility is just a means to an end. That's the way to achieve that goal of true inclusion. Now, unfortunately, and there's amazing panels here at Zero Project where you hear about inclusion in the employment and inclusion at your shopping malls and all kinds of service providers. But eventually, it's great to be inclusive when everything is okay. But if an emergency happens and your reaction would be to people with disabilities, sit tight, people will come and help you, and run for safety, we're missing out on the true inclusion. I don't know what about you. If that would happen to me, I would probably stay at home and not want to get out of my house. So when we are talking about true inclusion, when we are talking about quality of life, we have to make sure that we are inclusive both in good times and, of course, in bad. So this is why we established the Purple Vest mission. It came from a need on the ground. We were called to Ukraine when the war broke there in 2022. And basically, we took something that for us seemed very obvious, and that was to provide people with the knowledge on how to identify, how to communicate, and how to assist people with disabilities and elderly in times of emergency. Now, I can tell you that the whole idea of the Purple Vest is you guys, is us, the human factor, the human-powered model that takes people and turns them into human ramps by raising awareness, by spreading of information, by training, and creating professional task force who will know to do the extra step and assist when the time is really bad. And why disability and emergency preparedness matters? First of all, we are talking about the largest minority in the world, and people forget it. And I can tell you that I spoke here in Zero Project to people from all kinds of countries where when I was referring to people, let's say, with mental disability, they were like, oh, them too? Then yes, we're talking about all disabilities in all areas of life. And we have to remember that for people with disabilities and elderly, generic doesn't really work, especially not in emergency. They have unique challenges many times, and we have to make sure that that is taken care of. Another important thing to remember, we are talking all the time about visible and non-visible disabilities. 70% of people with disabilities around the world are people with non-visible disabilities, but I can tell you in emergency, we are looking at another differentiation. We are looking about existing or known disabilities that the people themselves, maybe their colleagues know that they have a disability, but we're also talking about people that until the emergency did not know, were not aware, will not know to come and ask for assistance, which is accessible. And we need to take that into consideration also. So what is missing in standard emergency training? And again, we are exposed and we meet great organizations all over the world that do an amazing job in helping people in really the worst time, but do they know how to do so in an accessible way? So first of all, disabilities, people. Marcy was talking about including the people themselves, enabling people to train, people with disabilities to say, this is what I need, and this is how I need the help. So that is an important aspect. The knowledge, the solutions that can help, and of course, practice and drills. Don't stay in the theory, but really practice it. We, in our trainings, first of all, as I said, we teach the people who are trained how to identify people with disabilities, how to communicate in an accessible way, identify accessibility-related risks, and techniques that can help in real time. And we work with both personal assistants, family members, volunteers. I call it the yin and the yang. It's great to train the volunteers that wear the purple vest. But again, we are empowering people with disabilities. People with disabilities really can reach whatever goals they want. In emergency, I don't want to tell them, sit tight, somebody will come. I want to even provide them with the tools and the capabilities of how to help themselves in the best way in those first seconds, first minutes of a disaster that can really save their lives. And of course, whoever went to the tech forum at Zero Project on Tuesday, we launched our new Purple Vest badge, because one of the things that we noticed in emergencies in the various countries that we are already operating in is how technology in this technological era can really help. So if people are sitting here and they have solutions or technologies that can assist any disability in any types of emergency, we invite them to share with us the Purple Vest badge and really help us spread the word and help us help them succeed and really see how their technology can help countries all over the world. Now, you were mentioning that I'm going to talk about the front line. So let's first of all redefine the front line. The front line in the past was way over there. Today, we're talking about our neighborhoods. It can be an earthquake, it can be a climate change disaster, it can be a war that happens in our neck of the world, in our neighborhoods. So the front line is now redefined. And once we redefine the front line, we have to redefine who are the people who can really help us. So we have on the one hand emergency services and responders, the first responders, that need, in addition to the amazing training they have, to have that layer of accessibility. How do you do what you do in an accessible way? On the other hand, I can tell you that we understood from our operations in Ukraine, in Israel, and in other countries, the importance of a unique Purple Vest task force that is there specifically to help people with disability, with knowledge that we heard. We heard about data. You know that in a certain building there is a person with disability. Let's make sure that they receive the specific help, and people who know they are there can come and assist in a personalized and customized way. But there's also a new audience when you're redefining what frontline is, and that is our neighbors, our friends, our families. The teenager guy that is maybe annoying in regular times, he can be the one to help me if he knows that I'm there, if he knows how to assist in an accessible way. So our trainings is really redefining who receives them and making sure that human factor is a really human ramp. And I'm towards the end. We have been operating all over the world, really spreading the word. It started at Zero Project 3 years ago when we received an award for this, but the true award is seeing country after country really saying, wow, we never thought about it. So if you're sitting here in the audience and saying, hey, I think it refers to me, then turn to us. We have a booth outside. Come and join us. And if I'm talking about data, the Access Israel developed an app that is now operable in Israel, but again, it's another way of basically sharing the importance of data, importance of knowing, in our country in Israel, people are, the country collects data, important data of people who are recognized by the country as people with disabilities, but the question is, we're not all registered with the country as a disabled person. I myself, in the middle of the war, had an operation in my knee and was in a wheelchair for 6 weeks. I'm in no database. I still need accessible help. So our app is exactly for that, for everybody who needs somebody to know that they need accessibility in emergency. I invite you to scan whatever you see now on the slide, pass it on, and join us. There are solutions. Training is really the tool to do it. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Mikal. I would now like to open the Q&A session, but before I have questions to you, because my niece, she doesn't believe that anybody listens to me, so I would like to take you a photo to show her afterwards how many people were in the room. So if it's okay for you, please raise your hand if you have any comment or any question. I think there are some behind. You have a microphone, so please go ahead.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for this great presentation. I don't know if you can hear me better now. I do have 3 questions, so I would go briefly. I have 2 questions for Antonio and 1 for Michel. As for that guide that is being implemented in Spain, do you have an information on how it could be and when it might be implemented internationally? Because I do work for the OSCE, the Organization of Security of Cooperation, and we work in the anti-trafficking of persons with disabilities. So I think that will be very interesting to be replicated and also in other countries, not only in Spain. The other question is, does this guide includes all different disabilities or only those ones with physical disabilities? If someone cannot see, for example, or if someone that is someone has, for example, an intellectual disability, does this guide also include all types of disability? And my other question for Michel is, due to the, I was just curious to know, due to the complication of in Israel, in the villages and in the city, like, do you guys have programs in both? Because there are the Arabs who are living in the villages, there are the Jewish, and data says that they are the most impacted when there is a war, when there is a crisis. So I was just curious to know, and thank you very much again.
Thank you very much for the questions. First, in the first question, you asked me for the possibility of the implementation all around the world of this guide. For us, it's not a problem because we are a national police statement, a national institution that we can work with all police and all around the world, that they touch in contact with us, or some foundation, organization that touch in contact with us. For sure, it's not a problem. We spread this solution. We think that it works well in Spain. It could be good in all the countries. So, but in the images appears Guardia Civil. Okay, two guides of Guardia Civil. I only want that they appears in the rest of the world, but no, it's not a problem. Okay. In the second question, sorry, I don't remember the second question. It's about
replicating this guide does it include all persons with disabilities?
Okay. Really, we when we start this project with Fundación 11, we talk about the mental disabilities for sure, but then we realized that it could be used in more situation, for example, with the problems with the language, problems with the perception, or in sometimes police officers works with people that is with fear, with not big trouble, and they don't have any disability, but in this moment they can't explain or they don't communicate to the police officers as well, and they use this pictogram guide. Okay, but we have nowadays we are implementing other solution for can avoid or can achieve all kinds of disabilities, but sometimes it's difficult because, like I said, our organization have more than 70,000 police officers. Okay, and then sometimes when they spread this kind of solution is not easy, but then when they have I don't know. They like this kind of solution because when you are in the street working with people, when you have a problem of communication, it's very good to you to have all the tools you can use. Okay. Nowadays we are working with an institution in Spain that use the language, signal language, sorry, and to implement 3 parts calling, okay, with video chat for that police officers can use this chat live in the streets, in the road, or wherever they are to communicate with people. We are implementing this kind of tool. And then I think it's enough.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Sorry, because
Yeah.
Okay, and I will answer. Thank you very much for the question, by the way, because I maybe didn't stress it. All of the Purple Vest training from the beginning were translated to all languages of the UN. JDC Israel is sitting here, a great partner that makes sure, and together we make sure that our trainings go in Israel to everyone, to all communities. And I can even open a parenthesis and say the best ones are the Arab villages. They love it, and they are amazing implementers of it. The idea is, though, we have to remember the need for customization. A training that is good in the middle of Tel Aviv or in Vienna is not necessarily good when you're talking about a remote village or another country maybe developing or developed. So you have to have that element of really listening to the people, listening to the ground, speaking their language, communicating what their needs are, and not what I know all Purple Vest comes and conveys. So this is something that is very important, and the answer is absolutely yes.
Thank you, Mikhail. I think here was a question. Yeah, give a round of applause if you want. You're welcome.
My name is Gary Wagner, Vienna. 2 questions to Michael. Firstly, does your education reach the level of a paramedic expert, for instance? Take epilepsy. I'm not an expert. Is this a disability? Is this a medical problem, whatever? And does it include also medical issues, okay? And secondly, is those persons wearing the vest also online connected with a medical doctor? So you can immediately take some further information.
Okay, first of all, great question. And you know, one of the things when we started dealing with this issue, the importance is knowing your limits and knowing what you know to do and what you do not know to do. I'm not a medical profession, although we do have experts who are medical profession in our team. But what I'm saying is the paramedic knows his job. They're doing an amazing job. But do they know how to communicate when they're providing the assistance in an accessible way? That's my expertise. So we differentiate that part, and when a Purple Vest volunteer comes to a scene, first of all, we make sure that they're not in the ground zero. I'm talking about the volunteer, not the first responders. The first responders know what to do at ground zero. The Purple Vest volunteer is usually in the perimeter of the event, assisting people who are in need of assistance. And what our training does is the layer of accessibility. How do you know, I'll give you a great example. We had a person who uses oxygen, okay? Needed constant oxygen. Now, when something occurred next to his house and he needed to be evacuated, he was very low on the fluid, on the waters that goes into the equipment. Now, if the Purple Vest volunteer wouldn't have known to ask what it is you need me to take, what are the things that you need me to take now in the 2 seconds that I have in your house to evacuate you, he would have found himself without what is needed for a long time because the situation was very stressful and very extreme at the time. So the idea is we do not presume to know what we're not experts at. We bring the layer of expertise on accessibility of whatever the volunteers need to do on the ground.
Thank you, Mikhail. There was a question in the back, the lady. Sorry, she was first.
Thank you. My name's Claire. I am an autistic volunteer firefighter from Western Australia. One of the things that I do is try to work with my brigades and my colleagues to get them to be more inclusive. The problem is that I have in my community, 95% of our first responders are volunteers, and it's very, very hard to pull the lever to get them to commit to training. So my question is for people working on both sides of the line, how do you pull the lever to get people to invest in the training or in committing to inclusiveness? I think I'm one of only 2 disabled volunteers in my state, and you know, we don't have a particularly loud voice. My question is to anyone who can answer.
Who wants?
Yeah, this is Marcy, and great question, Claire. And this is why those local disability-led organizations play such an important role, because not only are they providing the training to the first responders, to all of the folks who may become first responders, they're doing this before the next disaster. We help them to develop their capabilities to deliver that training, and then we teach them how to train others, and this way the local community is building relationships with those local disability-led organizations so that they can collaboratively help train the rest of the community before the next big thing.
Can I add one?
Yeah.
Great. So I can tell you that, first of all, statistics goes both ways. So in many cases, the volunteers, the potential volunteers, if you come at the right time and present it correctly, we all know parents, sisters, siblings, neighbors, friends that are with disability. So we come to our volunteers and call out on that part. We are doing it for our community. That's one thing. Number 2, I must tell you that I'm very proud to say that the Purple Vest volunteers are inclusive also. People with and without disabilities. We have amazing people with disabilities who were assisted at the beginning, but became the volunteers themselves who go out and assist or train, etc. So I think it's a matter of stressing the relevance to us all. It is our families, it is our friends, and inclusiveness is something we owe to ourselves and our loved ones.
So thank you, Mikhail. One short last question, because I want you to experience a small exercise afterwards.
Yes, thank you. I have only one question about the database and maybe what research on statistical econometrical models maybe could be useful or is wished to have in this kind in order to make evidence-based predictions and well-working predictions which are not overfitting, maybe to all who want to answer.
Yeah. I'm not sure I totally understood the question, but in my perspective, like when you do any kinds of database or research, especially for evidence-based, we base on the approach that co-design is a good way to start with us. For example, one of our research is the university, they want to do a research about disability inclusion, but some question is not relevant, is not appropriate to person with disability. For example, if you ask, how do you see the water is polluted? So how the blind people, they can recognize. So when they work with us, it's really good to adapt the question to different types of disabilities. So it's a kind of co-design. And it's not only database for research for every kind of work. We encourage to collaborate with less organizations by persons with disabilities.
So thank you. Unfortunately, we have to come to an end. As I mentioned before, there is this Zero Project report. You can scan now the QR code if you want. I have also some printout. If you have a problem, I will be pleased to assist you outside the door. But to give you a small exercise, because I was always wondering how would a room like this would be evacuated in case of an emergency. So please don't worry, don't get afraid. But as we have two experts here, Antonio and Mikhail also, they will now lead us out of the room because we have to leave fast and in a controlled way, but you are allowed to take your belongings with you. So I hope you enjoy this practical exercise and thank you for your interest.
Thank you very much. Don't be in panic. It's so unnecessary, and like in the plane said, don't forget your personal belongings. Thank you very much. You can go and slowly, but safety.
Go where?
And Antonio has some assistants who will help us.
Yeah.
As you can see,
Yeah.